So ever since that news broke that Disney was looking to buy Fox, more specifically to buy all of their film things, which would include of course the Fantastic Four and the X-Men, and I'm not kidding you guys, hundreds upon hundreds of requests have been sent my way to make a video on how I would introduce the X-Men into the MCU. Now this will be two different videos. In this video, we are under the assumption that if they are picked up, that there is a mandate that the current X-Men continuity has to be considered and they have to keep all the actors and those contracts. So that's how I'm going to formulate this one. So here is the big problem with this. There's of course multiple timelines in the Fox X-Men universe. We of course have Legion. We have Gifted, which Gifted itself might be connected to some other broader universes, it might not, we don't really know. We of course have the Deadpool universe, which is definitely not connected to the core X-Men movies. We have X-Men 1 through 3. After that, it gets a little bit shaky. We definitely know Days of Future Past has alternate futures. The current one that's happening, of course, in the 80s and 90s. And then of course the old continuity that took place. So everything is kind of muddled. But that's not a problem right now, considering I'm going to take all of that into consideration and automatically I'm going to eject the X-Men version of Legion and the Gifted. Both of those can exist as they do right now. Those don't need to really connect into anything. Legion specifically can be fully on its own. That can stand by itself. The Gifted, on the other hand, you could retrofit into the MCU. You could say the mutants have just been running around. It takes place maybe a couple years in the future. You're fine right there. It doesn't matter. Much like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or the Netflix stuff, if it's never brought up, no one's going to question it just because it doesn't need to. So that can stay right where it's at. So now we're going to transition over to the cosmic side of Marvel. We know this is ever expanding. We know which way it's going. We know it's going to get bigger and bigger, and we know a lot of the elements of the cosmic powers. Of course, the most important thing is the fact that Doctor Strange can look into different realities, and of course, he has a time stone. Now, let's say hypothetically in Avengers 4, they are messing around with time, which we do seem to know that they are going to in fact be messing with time, considering it's been all but 100% confirmed by the actual people making the movie. So we're going to take this into consideration. And the way I'm phrasing and putting the X-Men into the MCU is going to start all the way with the beginning of Phase 4, which means I'm starting to slowly bring the X-Men into continuity after Avengers 4 has already come out. So what I propose is that you're once again going to have to skew time very, very badly. You're going to have to do this in a very weird and a hard way. So the way I would start is start altering small things in the past. In certain movies, certain events would be remembered different ways. Maybe Spidey remembers going to school, and during Homecoming, maybe something happened that doesn't quite line up, and we don't really know what he's talking about. We're just like, oh, okay. As it turns out, maybe he went to school with a mutant or two that happened to be his friends, and these characters are going to start appearing down the road. In other movies that are coming out, like the new X-Men movie that's going to take place after Dark Phoenix, suddenly those actors are realizing that something is different. There's more heroes out there. Something seems to be off, but nobody can quite place their finger on what exactly seems slightly off. Suddenly, there's a giant tower in New York that was never there that they're all questioning why. As it turns out, there's been a man, well, I guess a evil man, jumping through time. This happens to be Kang the Conqueror. Kang the Conqueror, of course, loves to manipulate time. He loves to go in the past. He likes to conquer time. As it turns out, he's actually been manipulating all sorts of events throughout history, and it's caused a major ripple in time and space. Now, this of course wasn't helped at all with the events of Avengers 4. Doctor Strange, I'm assuming, is going to have to mess with time and the reality gem and all this. This has caused a major disruption, and as it turns out, 2 of these different worlds, maybe even 3 or 4, have all started to kind of converge into one. Well, this is being done because everything is going to have to be sorted down the road in the 5th Avengers movie, which is going to have a build-up of not 2 or 3 years. This is going to be a 4 to 5 year build-up, because this movie and how I'm building, sharing both of these universes colliding, is going to be Marvel's Secret Wars. No Avengers subtitle, no X-Men subtitle, no Guardians of the Galaxy, just simple. Marvel's Secret Wars, because that's what you're establishing. So now that all of these characters are starting to realize not everything is lining up as it should, we're going to have Doctor Strange, who is going to be one of the primary, if not the main character in this entire story. He's the one that's bridging everything together. He's the one that's kind of looking at it going, whoa, I realized that I kind of live in this like different vacuum, that I'm the one that realizes most of this doesn't line up. And their original objective is going to be, well, we got to kind of save time. We got to try to restore everything back to the way it is, but that's never going to work because we have to work these X-Men in here. Now, of course, actors like Hugh Jackman have numerous times talked about how they would be handling the whole concept of if the X-Men go into the MCU, he would come back. This is great. We're going to bring Hugh Jackman back. Not just that, we're going to have these young X-Men that we have. We're going to see who else is left over that still wants to come back. Patrick Stewart as Professor X, bring him in. We're going to see who else, is there. Halle Berry wants to come back as Storm. All right, cool. Let's use her. Maybe we'll have the younger Storm as well. It doesn't matter. This is Secret Wars. Now, reminder, this is Secret Wars for the name value only. Age of Ultron, Infinity War. From what we know, all of these are in name only. Like Civil War. That was Civil War in name only. They changed a lot of aspects. So I'm calling it Marvel's Secret Wars because it's this, giant fight that they're fighting for time, and it's awareness and it's everything like that. So you're bringing all of these elements together. Now that you have this, we're going to finally have Doctor Strange in some way, some mannerism, throughout a couple movies build up, show up here and there, try to assemble this team, and he's more or less going to build the Illuminati. And these guys have to come up with the idea of what do we do here. Now by this time, this Illuminati is going to be slightly different because it's all about star power. So you're going to have Doctor Strange, of course, Benedict Cumberbatch. You're going to have, of course, Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. You're going to have Black Panther because, of course, you're going to have Black Panther. His movie is going to be huge, and Chadwick Boseman looks absolutely awesome. You're going to have someone like Wolverine, of course, played by Hugh Jackman. You're going to have, for example, maybe someone that's not exactly of the big caliber, but that's not exactly, like the, how would I say this? The spotlight. Someone like Magneto, you got to get someone in there of his level just because you want to see that. And all of these guys are going to come together, a couple more in there, and they're going to agree on what they have to do. We have to use the Infinity Stones. We're going to have to come together. We're going to have to use everything we know to save time. Stop Kang the Conqueror. Fix all these timelines and everything. It's not going to happen, inevitably. Of course, it's not going to happen because it's all got to be in one continuity, but that's fine. So what they're going to do is they're going to go back and try to find Kang. And they're like, all right, we need a couple more people. Who can we assemble? Well, have you heard of Deadpool and Cable? All right, go get those guys, right? Now we got those guys. So now you have this team of like 8 or 9 people that's your core movie. It's these core characters. They're like, well, we need one more character. Now, under this assumption, I'm going to go with the fact that Captain America dies somewhere in Avengers 4. They go, well, who can we have lead this team? And Tony Stark's like, I know who. Let's go get him. Let's go get the captain. They pull the captain out, and they're like, all right, now we got this idea. We got like 10 of us. We're traveling through time. We're going to go stop Kang. We're going to fix time. I don't know how they do it. They're going to defeat him. It doesn't matter. The problem is, when they defeat him, it's not good. You know how movies like to do that thing where time changes and then you see a ripple, and a ripple literally like leaves the villain dying or something, and like ripples through time and you just see things changing? Well, for this one, we're going to change history in its entirety. And I mean its entirety. You're going to see Chris Evans and Sebastian Stan as Bucky and Cap leading the Howling Commandos from that scene in the first Avenger. Except right now, it's changed. You're going to see Logan standing right alongside of them doing all of that. We're going to get a scene from the Avengers where we see upstate New York and a few straggling aliens have made it there, and we see the X-Men fighting them off. We're going to see Thanos, taking like a moon or a planet or whatever he does in Infinity War and tossing it towards our heroes, and we're going to see Colossus there, and we're like, what exactly is happening? At this moment, we realize what ballsy thing they've done. They've rewritten time. Time is now different. We've gotten all the movies we've gotten so far. X-Men, all in continuity. MCU, all in continuity. Everything's in continuity, but up until this point, we've pretty much Days of Future past it. Kang's demise, there's no way to restore these timelines anymore because, well, he was trying to merge them all together, and due to a mess up from Doctor Strange changing time, because they said there'd be dire consequences, it's now happened. It's all one continuity. They come up to modern day, and everything's okay. Everybody remembers these events like they've always been like that. There's nothing wrong with that. Spider-Man's looking around, he's always had mutant friends. Mutants have always been part of the MCU for as far as they know. We know that's not the fact, but to them, that's how it's been because their mind has changed. As it would turn out, living in his own little bubble, having his own protection, Doctor Strange is the only one that realizes this isn't how it went down. But for the good of everybody, he's got to just kind of keep it to himself. This is it. If he tells them, there could be dire consequences. They want to restore it to the way it was, everything. So he's just going to go, you know what? Screw it. It's consequences of time messing. We're not going to do this again. Put away that time gem. Do not touch it again. Maybe. But that's really the only way I could see this working. It's convoluted as hell. But if it was to happen and you had to bring them in, that's how I would do it.